2018 6:30 regular scheduled meeting of the Sewer Commission in accordance with the requirements of the Open Meeting Law. Please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over Lunenburg Public Access. We got Ryan Stover, Joe Anderson, Carl Luck, and John Reynolds are here. First up, we have an appointment with John Londa. Mr. Londa, come on up.
Good evening, John Londa, Director of Facilities for Lunenburg Public Schools.
And we're here for a waiver request.
So I submitted a request on July 3rd to put in place a waiver on the grease traps for three schools, and the first one being Lunenburg Middle High School, or new school. We've been on a schedule of 3 times a year of cleaning grease traps, which have been July, December, April, and what we're looking to try to do is get to 2 a year, which would be July and December. And the reason why we're looking at it is we're looking at the volume of grease that we have coming out and that's being collected. We have Action King Services is our company that comes out and services these, and the volume just doesn't seem that it's high enough that warrants 3 times a year. So this is a request to move that to twice a year for the internal grease traps. And we also have a external interceptor that's a 4,500 gallon exterior interceptor that picks up all the flows for the school coming out. When we initially had it installed and we took over the school, I consulted with Action King Services to find out what they thought was most appropriate. They said they thought annual might do. We went the first year, did readings when they serviced it, and we're about pulling out about an inch of grease and sediment at the bottom. It has a 66 inch depth to the tank, so it's pretty low volume on that. And for that, we're looking to just to get the waiver to continue annual cleaning of that interceptor. The other schools, Lunenburg Primary School, those I've recorded, I think it was eight various cleanings of the grease traps for both the dishwasher and the pot sink, and those are historically been around 3 to 4%, and so we'd like to go with that one also to twice a year, be July and December. And then Turkey Hill Elementary School are pretty much the same there. The only difference on Turkey Hill was when we initially started getting these recordings, we didn't really have a good reading on the hydraulic depth of the grease traps we have at that school, because we didn't really have any paperwork on them. So we wound up sticking the tank to determine the hydraulic depth. And once we did that in December 2017, then we knew, well, look, we're really not even close to 10%, and so that's why you see the last 2 drop substantially down. And the 2 grease traps at Turkey Hill, both of them are duplicate, both the same. They're 70-pound grease traps. And so we'd also like to have that school go to a twice a year cleaning, July and December.
Okay. Did you talk to Action King Services about the plan? They said they think it's fine too.
I didn't address them on this. I said they're out 3 times a year currently. And when they open up, we see what's in there, and generally, the one that we see, like the one we do in July, when they open it up, there's really not a lot in the grease traps because we just serviced them in mid-April.
Yeah, you have a couple months until the end.
Pretty short period,
right.
And then you're opening them back up again, and there just wasn't really a lot in there. I mean, there's always grease in them, but just not a lot.
Okay. Anybody have opinions or questions?
I guess I'll just confirm. I was with John when they pumped at least the high school. I didn't go to the other 2 schools, but I've been to those, and I confirm, at least on my visits, exactly what John said on the prior pumpings. It's always very low. So I would be in favor of the request as he stated for all of them, but I do have 2 questions that came up while we were at the high school. I don't think it'll affect this, but one of them was, we discovered, unless you've done something different, John, that on the dishwasher, there's the rinsing before the dishwasher, where you rinse off all the dishes. It was believed that that went into the system and the grease trap. We could not confirm that, and we looked briefly at prints, and it looked like it does not, which seems very strange to me, because you're rinsing off all of the all the food and the grease, and it's not going through the grease trap system. So I think we need to look at that in terms of the design, because I'm concerned that I'm not surprised we don't have much grease in the trap, because they're all rinsed off when they go into the dishwasher. So
School is obviously designed very recently.
I
I
know.
would hope that the architect would have read the CMR.
you would hope so, but you would also hope that the rinsing station for the dishes would be part of the trap system. So I'd like to get some follow-up on that.
So,
maybe.
That's
so
not
you
much to
do
do
know,
with
of
this.
course, like I said, we do have the external, so anything that
But it
doesn't
doesn't
go
go-
to an internal would get captured in the
Yep.
external.
The print we looked at, John, it didn't go into the external either. It bypassed the whole grease system.
Hold on, but that's a whole separate issue than getting them cleaned out.
It's only related in that the grease that should be going into the traps and/or the external isn't going there.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying, but for this specific waiver, it's not, right now, it doesn't have, I think we should probably talk about that at a future meeting.
Well, I think we need some action on it, although I can't imagine it affecting the external trap. I mean, it should be addressed.
Yeah, no, I know, but I don't know about the agenda item here is just the waiver request, not to open up a whole new thing. about
Right,
the
except
trap.
I think we should give them the waiver, but also what Carl is saying, that it's highly unlikely it's happening, but if everything that's being rinsed off in the pre-rinse is going into the sewer system.
I know what Carl's
versus
saying.
Right, okay.
I'm just saying
All
it's
right, well,
nothing
I-
to do with this waiver request.
Well, yes and no. I mean,
No, it doesn't. It's a whole separate. It's a separate issue. That's a design, maybe a possible design flaw, but it has nothing. This is a specific waiver request for the cleanings. I agree. We should look into it, and we should probably find out exactly what's going on. But I'm just asking specifically for this waiver request.
What's the cost per cleaning?
So the cost per grease trap is $125 per cleaning. So typically, all of our schools have 2 grease traps, so $250. So we spend about $750 just for the internal grease traps. The external tank, we pay $1,300 to empty that and clean that.
Big savings.
So I mean, I understand what you're saying, Joe, but they're clearly related, because if all the grease isn't going in, if this was changed, it might affect it. So I could see, to just give John something firm to plan on, because the external, when's the internal going to be done again? I mean, we've got it
Would be December.
in December.
That's
So we've got a
what-
number of months before the cleanings are done. So I would suggest, if we approve the waivers, that we approve them pending the investigation and outcome of that issue,
How long have you known that this might have been a problem?
since we did the pumping.
Which was when?
When was it, John?
We did that on July 2nd.
July 2nd.
Yeah, like I said, I'll go back, I can go back and look at that, but I'd be surprised if we're not at least going through the external.
I would hope you
Because, I
were.
mean, the flows from the school have to come through that tank.
No problem if you make the motion.
No,
but
only
continues.
the flows from the kitchen go to that tank. I think we need that answer investigated, because if it doesn't go into if it doesn't go into the external tank, then that's a real problem, because we're basically rinsing all the grease down the drain.
No, I agree with
So
you.
I think before the next external, I could see approving this, but that this issue be addressed before the next pumping of the external, which is almost a year from now, next July. So that should be plenty of time for John to go do the homework and come back
So with if you're making a motion, have a date.
Yeah, I'd like to, well, I got one more observation that I'd like to bring up, which is why you have to inspect these, and I appreciate, and I think a year is good. Because it's not only to see grease, but it's also to check proper operation. There's also an issue that I think in the same time frame over the next year should be looked at with the external, where the pipe that's going out is at an angle. It shouldn't be at an angle, and it has the potential that if you did have much grease, the grease could go into the top. It's a T, literally, with the
You're
top
talking
of
about
the
in the
T.
interceptor?
In the interceptor, yeah. And this was pointed out by the pump. I didn't even notice it, and he pointed out that it should be horizontal. It's facing down like this, and there's a T on the end of it that, where it goes down into the tank. But the top of the T, which is just a plastic T, is open. It's not closed. So it's getting very close to the height of the water. Mm-hmm. So if you got much above it, it would just go right directly into the pipe and out. So I think that should be looked at as well, maybe in conjunction with this other thing, and John come back and tell us about that, because that's there's something wrong there. It's not. It should be fixed.
Yeah, I would differ. From my observation, it's operating properly, and we've had no problems with it whatsoever. The problem with trying to determine if the pipe is level or not level, if you're outside the tank, if you're not looking directly at the level, you would have to essentially climb in the tank with a level to determine whether or not it was pitched properly. And so I would just, while it might appear that way, that's not my take on it at all. I think it's fine.
Well, it was the opinion of the pumper. He brought it to our
Yeah,
attention.
I don't think that.
And it didn't look
then
level.
He didn't have a level, and he didn't climb down the tank.
And I don't think you need to climb in the tank. You
You
can
would
reach it.
have to be able to determine the pitch. We're not talking about a large pitch. We're talking a very, very small pitch. And the only way you do it is we throw a level on it. That's how, when they're installed, that's how it's done.
And I don't see any reason it can't be done now. It's not down the bottom of the tank. You can reach it. You could reach down there with the level.
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm saying I don't even recognize that there's a need for that. Because like I said, when somebody is standing 5 feet above a pipe looking down at something that's 2 feet inside the tank, you're not, and you're, well, it looks like it's not level. When they build these things, they put a level on them. It's how they know if they're pitched properly or not. And so it sounds like it's anecdotal at best. We've had no problems with this tank.
The only thing that concerns me, if Action King saw it, they see tanks on a daily basis, more than probably any
They
of us
also
see.
were not in a position to be able to properly observe it either.
So I think it should be inspected. I mean, there seems to be a disagreement, and I think it should be inspected. I mean, that's why we pump these, is to see if everything looks correct.
Yeah, and then there wasn't any indication that it was overtopping the T at all.
It's not the point. The point is it
Well,
the
that's-
design. The
that's
design
the-
should be level.
The T is there should there be a clog in the line going up, that there's a direction for it to flow out. And there wasn't really any indication that was going on.
No, and hopefully it never will with the kind of grease you've got now.
How old's the tank?
It's 24 months old, plus or minus, probably plus some months between when it was installed and when the school started operation.
Okay.
I guess I'm just a little taken aback that, the pumper brought it to our attention. It doesn't appear to be level. It's a flexible joint. It appears to be flexed down, and I don't understand why it's not. It's only, like you say, maybe 2 feet, if that, down. I don't think it's a big burden to inspect it, see if it's level. If it's not, to change that coupling and make it correct. I don't understand your reluctance.
Oh,
These
it's
things-
because I could always find things to do. I have plenty to do, and I don't really need to go chase things that are not a problem. And like I said, there's no indication that this is a problem.
But it's not to print. I don't believe it's to print.
Well, these get inspected, though, when they get installed, correct? There's an inspection
Yes.
and everything like that. Couldn't you just pull the inspection records and take a look at it?
It may have happened since then. It looks like a flexible joint.
I think it's solid. I don't think it's flexible. I mean, it's got dropped all the way to the bottom of the tank.
That's what I observed. That's what the pumper observed. Every other time the pumper says something that we'd like to hear, we say, that's the expert. Pumper here said, it's not right. I looked at it, it looked like he was right, it wasn't level. It's not a huge deal to take the top off and check it. I leave it to the commission, but I'm just taken aback that we
Who was
wouldn't
there
want to
when-
just get the data.
Who was there when it was inspected or emptied?
The Action King?
Yeah, we had two
Two-
reps from
two,
Action King, and I was there. And
I really think we should focus. I understand what you're saying, but this is completely off the topic of the waiver request. I understand the rinsing the dishes and there is concerns here, but I mean, this waiver request is just to change it from 3 to 2, and then 1 to annual. I mean, if there's a problem with the tank, maybe we can put that on an actual agenda item, talk about it at the next meeting. I have no problem doing that, but right now it's to look at these waivers.
So I would suggest we do that, because
That's
I
fine.
think there are two things that are potentially wrong with that system. So I think they need to be addressed, or I don't know why we bother.
Yep, I just said we could do it the next meeting.
Well, so are we talking about waiving this contingent upon results of those two items that Carl?
No one's made any motion for anything yet, so I don't know what we're talking
Okay.
about.
I make a motion that we give the waivers as John had requested, which is for the internal traps in the middle high school, twice a year. For the external at the middle high school, once a year. And then both the primary and Turkey Hill internals be twice a year. Contingent upon, for the external, contingent upon the results of the plumbing investigation for the dishwasher rinse sink.
Okay, in contingent upon, when you're saying that, exactly what are you saying?
I'm saying if that rinse sink, if we find out before the next external pumping, because if it goes anywhere, it goes into the external.
Right.
Before that, we get this addressed. If it doesn't go into the external, then if it goes into the external, that's fine. If it doesn't go into the external, then there may need to be some rework, and it might affect, if it's plumbed into the internal, it might affect that, but it might have some effect.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay, further discussion. Do you have a date? Do you want to put a deadline on that contingency?
Well, I said, I think give me a year. I mean, till before the pumping of the next pumping for the external, which is next July.
Yeah, but what if we find out that it doesn't go in there and something needs to get fixed?
Well, if we find out something serious, then we have to address it, obviously.
I don't know, I'm saying, should we try and find out if something's wrong prior to the next?
Oh,
meeting?
absolutely.
So why don't we make it June of 2019, something like that?
Yeah, and the more I think about it, I'm not even, I might change the motion to remove the contingent, because I think we need to do something quick. I think you're exactly right. I think we need to at least have this issue addressed within the next months.
So you're amending the motion just to
So I'm
approve the
gonna,
waivers
so I
as
just
John
amend
stated them?
that we approve the waivers without.
Without
any
contingencies? I do still second that amendment.
Second.
Any further discussion about that motion? So to be clear, it's just to change the inspections to exactly how John stated it, and as you stated it before. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed? You're good.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Public comment from the board? Ellen, public comment, public? No? Okay. I&I evaluation. Carl sent in the suggested scope. You have this handout?
And this is just to get some discussion going, and try to collect ideas and thoughts and comparison. I think the most important thing really is decide how we're going to do this, what process we're going to use, and then we can just start doing the process. I don't know, and it can go anywhere from, we write a scope of work and send it out for proposals. We could choose several suppliers to come in and talk to us about what the issues are, and just give them sort of the big picture of issues, and say, you come back to us with a proposal to anything in
Kind of like
between.
that, to be honest, but let me just read this real quick. Review Pat I&I studies report. I like it.
Sure.
I like your plan.
So which plan do you like?
Well, I mean, just in general, the scope here. So the scope I like. The deliverables make sense. Obviously, the objectives too. But so I guess what's the process of doing this? You get out. Do you send this scope of work to multiple third parties to get quotes and
We-
things like that? Or
we
how
could-
long it would take them?
We could do that. I mean, that's an option, and just, select, and there's a bunch of engineering firms that we can pull in. We decided we wanted to bring somebody else in. There's a couple that are doing other work for the town right now that would be good candidates. I would, we need to talk to Heather about procurement. We need to stay rigid on that. But that aside, if it was allowable, I would like to maybe just have a couple agent firms come in, explain the problem. We can use this this is our thought of how to go about
Yep.
solving the issues that we see, but maybe you have different issues, and then have them, then we can have a formal, quote proposals from them.
Yeah, and we want those proposals to include, priority lists and things like that, and
Yeah.
scopes of work for each priority and
Right.
what to tackle first.
Yeah, and they could, with this as a guideline and the result of a discussion, they could make their own scope of work.
Sure. Once they look at the data, they probably will come up with their own.
Right.
But it's a good guideline. So can you run those two options you guys mentioned before we read that? What were they again?
We either we go through a bid process with this, or fine tune this as a scope of work and go out to bid. Or we identify 2 or 3 engineering firms that, for whatever reasons we choose, we think are good candidates for this kind of work, bring them in, sit down, have a discussion about the issues and the proposed scope of work, and then as a result of that, you would go out for a formal RFP. And
I like that option. As far as procurement goes, is that an allowable thing where we handpick a couple people?
well, this is exempt since it's engineering,
Okay.
but it doesn't mean we should just go do anything we want. We should
No.
stay pretty close with a number of bids and.
I mean, I think it'd be
you know.
smart to use the engineering firms that we've used in the past that know our system and work with us.
Well, part of the thought here is to get some fresh eyes on the problem.
That's fine too. So I assume you have some people in mind.
I didn't bring them with, but I think Santec is one of the companies that are doing some work currently for the
In town? Okay.
And I think there's another one, but there were 3 or 4, reputable agencies, engineering firms, that were at the Mass Municipal Association, that I, talked briefly about this kind of thing, because you want somebody who's interested in doing this kind of work. We
Right.
don't want somebody that, wants to build a sewer system. So there were a couple that would be interested in this level of, just really an engineering investigation, no shovels in the ground, just collect data,
It's just looking at data,
analyze
analyzing
data, and, give us a report and recommendations.
I'm fine with having some people come in, talking to us before going out to bid for anything. And I'm also fine with Carl taking the lead taking this initiative here to talk to these people and decide who to bring in on behalf of the sewer commission. Does anybody have a problem with Carl doing that?
No,
Or anyone disagree with
No,
what I
I
said?
don't disagree. I think getting some engineer firms in here, just so from the beginning, we head down the right direction. And if Carl wants to take that on to come up with some engineers, then I would support that.
Okay.
I would only just say to contact Heather and make sure
Yeah,
she's all.
right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
run it by her first.
Yeah.
With it being engineering, I don't think you'll have any issues there anyway.
No, but she might have some ideas, that make it better. So I'll come to the next meeting with 2 or 3 engineering firms and why I think they're good ones, and then we could, if you agree, schedule them.
And I have no problem with you starting a little bit of a dialogue with them to kind of explain what we're trying to do.
Okay, yeah.
If you
Well,
want.
that'd be good. So I'd give them a scope and they'll,
Yeah, I think it's probably a little value add to
Yeah.
give them a heads up, because it could weed out people.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe
right,
they're too
yeah.
busy or something you don't know about.
Okay, great. No,
Everybody,
appreciate
everybody
that.
cool with that?
Good.
All right.
Good.
It's fine.
Thank you.
Policy update discussions, manual meter policy. Carl, what'd you come up with?
I didn't come playing, I did talk to council about this general issue.
Was that yesterday?
It was yesterday, yes, yeah. He had hoped to get a little bit more concrete stuff for us, but wasn't able to. He does have a guy who has dealt with similar things. He calls them sub-metering. This is a sort of a sub-metering issue. Never with a trailer park, but with like condominiums, apartments, and things. It's the same basic thing. You have an owner, and then you have people who are
Right.
not owners and renting. So he will come back to us, but he said in the end, and I absolutely agree, we should establish a formal policy for sub-metering. We talked about, a number of the options. Again, that we, should get some more feedback from him and then approach the owner of the park.
So is council going to give us some advice on what that metering policy should state before we
He's
go
gonna-
writing it?
He's gonna tell us what we have rights to do. He believes, but he's gonna confirm. He believes that we could, if we wanted to, tell the owner that we're no longer gonna read his meters.
He just wants to confirm that.
Yeah, that we don't have to. If somebody, builds an apartment house and they sub-meter everything, we don't have the responsibility to read every meter in those apartments.
It puts the onus on the owner, right?
Yeah, that the owner does. And if the owner wants to read them and give them to him, there's all kinds of options. But the simplest one is just one meter reading, just like he does with the water. One thing I would like to get, though, because we will end up having a discussion with the owner. Barb, if you could, I tried looking, but I couldn't tell. I'd like to see, you said there was like 25 or something, which seems to be a lot, but whatever it is, what we bill them. My sense, knowing that at one point, over half our customers were minimum bill, that there may be a lot of minimum usage bills.
They are.
So I think overall, if we billed the owner, the net bill to those customers would go down. Because if they're paying the minimum and using less water than the minimum,
Right.
when you add it all up, it's going to end up being less, which would be good for them. And they're not going to have to buy these meters, So I think it's a
selling
compelling
point,
case,
yeah.
but we'll make sure what our
So right now, we're just
rights are.
gonna, you wanna wait for council?
Yep.
And then, so when he gets back to you, can you let me know? So we can
Yes.
throw it on a quick agenda item so we can get this kind of finished up?
Yeah, the next thing we'll have to, decide is, how we want to approach the owner.
Yeah, so let's confirm that we have the rights to do exactly what you just
Exactly
did.
what we want.
And then we'll have Mike come in.
Yep.
And I just want to confirm, there are 2 meters with Lemonster. There's a Summer Street and a Whalen. And you had said in one of your emails about 1 meter. Yeah, well, same part, but they straddle 2 roads. So there's 2 meters, just so you know.
And they're both Leominster.
Yes. Yep.
Do we get when Leominster gives us their readings, do we get those readings?
No, I
We do.
didn't. When we first started, this has gone on a long time, and it has always been that we read the meters. Several years went by, and I questioned how they build them, and I started getting their readings.
Okay, so we do, so we've got what we've been billing on, and we
Last
also have
couple
these 2
years.
meters from Leominster.
Yes, yeah, last couple years on the
Okay,
Leominster readings, because
So
I
we
never
could-
need them, but I thought
Yeah.
should have these somewhere.
Could you send me both of those? Because I could do the analysis and say, okay, today, paying individually, it's this much. If you paid by those 2 meters, it would be
Maybe
this much. Yeah, probably be less. Thanks, Bob.
Okay. Next is the waiver clause. Again, I think we're awaiting council input on that as well.
Which one? Oh, yes.
The waiver clause.
Yeah.
So we'll just wait. FY19 legal fees. We've got an invoice for MTC, charges based on flat fee. I see an email in here. Let's see.
Yeah, we got the invoice from the selectman's office, and I forwarded it. My questions back to Heather.
Did you get anything back?
No.
That was just Friday, right?
Yes.
We're trying to just pay the flat fee, which would actually bring our bill down considerably.
Well, not a flat, oh, yes,
We're
a
looking for
flat
the
rate.
flat rate, the 199 hour rate. We talked about that last time, right? Which will bring our bill down to 59.70 instead of 114.87.
In this instance, yeah.
Almost halves at that time. But we haven't heard anything back from Heather.
No.
So what do you do in that case? Wait.
Nothing. Not
Do you want me to
necessarily.
piggyback that email and just ask for a response?
Sure.
Okay, I'll do that.
Mr. Chairman, just two comments. One, it's interesting and probably good that we got that invoice because it shows exactly the problem, right?
I agree.
That we would be paying, what would work out to be $450 an hour or something.
Yeah. Well, when you look at the breakdown that they gave
Uncontrolled.
us, some of the months were like $600 an
Yeah,
hour.
first one was 600, and this one would have been 450, so it's a good example. We could, if there's some anxiety about the 199, you could, you could also look at the end of the year, because, but no, forget that. So I think that bill is just a good example of why we can't go this.
No,
we
it should
can't
be
go
a
this
flat
route.
rate, because if people aren't using them and we get a crazy high rate, I mean, that's
Yeah.
really not fair to us, and we didn't
Right.
agree to anything crazy like that.
Right.
Not that my hands might have been tied, we might not have had a choice to agree to it, but still, that's, because I remember seeing one of the months was like.
It was 6 something,
it
yeah,
was
the
6
first
something.
month was.
Yeah, because no one else really used it but us, so they had to
Yeah.
figure it out.
And it
That's
looks
not
like
cool.
it happened again in
Wish I could do that at work.
last month.
Yeah.
Pay come, whatever. Okay, so that's that. So right now, I'll just take the action to piggyback that email and just ask for a response, and maybe she'll come in or just give a written response, whatever I get. We'll put in the package for the next one. We'll
Yeah.
keep going on that.
Next agenda.
Grease traps regulation compliance.
Yeah, I forwarded my communication with Sean Patrick.
Yeah, let me open
It's
that
the
up.
only one I have actually of all the three that were laid out for the agenda originally. I've submitted or sent a letter with a $50 non-compliance and said that if we didn't have it, we would implement the $25 a day fee. So first, I just want to get your agreement or not, and
You're
then
good.
also to go back to when is the question.
So you want to know if we're going retroactive back?
Right.
So last pump out was May 2017. Came before the commission 8/1/17. It was to submit a waiver of documentation, but we never got anything.
Correct.
Letters of 5/31 and 7/13, and multiple emails advertising letter of 7/13, and email of 7/24. And the question is $25 a day. Back to when? We want to do
That
eight.
would be the next step in non-compliance.
Right. So right now they have a letter stating the fees, right?
We said you are in non-compliance and assessed a $50 fee.
$50 fee.
And in the letter, it does say.
If you don't come
If
back.
you don't have the items required, because I think at that time I was also looking for their annual permit
Yep.
and et cetera. So I said items, but that's the only thing that is outstanding.
So you want to know the $25 a day thing is supposed to kick in, and you want to know what day to go back to.
What would the commission like?
Oops, sorry.
I don't have a figure, but I should have done that, but I don't.
So their total issue as of today is the fact they haven't pumped out? Is that, it's all come down to that?
Yeah.
But they haven't proved it either way.
Yeah, or yeah.
Maybe they have, and they just
Yeah,
didn't
right.
tell us.
Right. Yeah, for one of the emails from Colleen, she had said that Sean thought he was waiting for us, but I had a summary that Carl had done from the August meeting and his appearance stating he was collecting the documentation, so.
So,
I'm just reading through these emails one
yeah,
more
right,
time.
so I'm trying
What are these big capital letters here, Bob? Whew.
What I do?
This must be done, all in caps. Way to go.
Well, I'm just trying
No, yeah, good job.
to get the point across.
You haven't heard back from her since?
No, I guess not. So you've never gotten a response to any of these?
No,
And we're sure that's the only email we have on file, right?
but we have certified letters.
You have certified letters signed that they got them,
Right.
correct? Okay. I think it's crazy to go back to 8, 9, 17, even though that might be okay to do. But I don't think you're gonna get it. They'll come in, they'll ask for a waiver, and we'll bend. Given history, that's what we do. So I would say go back to 7/1/18 for the $25 a day. Beginning of the month. Or you start tomorrow. If you want to immediately, you can start tomorrow.
$25 a day. How much is that a month? $25 a day?
I was just gonna figure that
It's
out.
a lot.
Yeah,
$7.50
$7.50.
for 30 days.
You know what'll happen though. We go all the way back to 8, 9.
Oh, yeah, no,
17.
I'm
That's
just,
crazy.
I'm wondering, yeah, I think that's reasonable, Joe.
Just do the beginning of this month or start tomorrow.
This month.
7/1.
Okay,
I think so.
all right.
All right, someone will make a motion in that. I don't even know if we have to make a motion in that. It's kind of our rules, but we're kind of playing with
Well,
dates
I'd
here.
rather have it
Make a motion,
because it's been,
Yeah, all right, do the
there's a
motion.
decision to.
Yeah,
Right.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Who wants to make it?
So I move we, oh,
Ryan was
Ryan.
on the book.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to go back to 7/1/18
So $25 a day.
for $25 a day.
Seconds?
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, $25 a day goes back to 7/1/18. You can assess that.
Thank you.
Annual permit status,
Yep, no, we're all set.
good to go?
Yep.
All right.
Everybody's in, and our first Tuesdays from June have all come in now, so. I'm
Great.
all good.
Fantastic. Minutes of 7/10/18. Anybody have any changes to the minutes of 7/10/18? Anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes of 7/10/18? You guys now want to
Yeah.
talk about minutes of 7/10/18?
Well, I wasn't there, so I can't tell you whether they're accurate or not, but
Good point.
I think they're accurate. You know, there's, some stuff you might argue should be there, but I think it's fine because it's on tape if anybody cares.
I mean, I listened to the tape, but that doesn't count as being there, so.
No, go ahead. You can see all of our facial expressions, but you got to hear the words. Okay,
I move we approve the minutes of 7/10/18.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor of approving the minutes of 7/10/18?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Ayes all around. MWRA notice. Town of Ashland received 7/24.
It came, it was sent out to all water sewer commissioners. I'm not sure there's any action you want to take, but I felt as if you needed to receive it. So you have? I don't know if you
Yeah, I don't
need to
really.
take any further action than that.
How it affects us.
It's
think-
just in the water. It's in the region, that's all.
Yeah.
And it's Ashland.
I didn't see it of us needing to do anything. Unless someone else disagrees with me, we'll just gotta move on and.
Would appreciate the information, Barb.
Yep.
Okay,
Always good.
keep it, pass it along.
Yep.
Okay.
Flow assessments.
Yeah, it was, I had it on the agenda just because we had invited him to, this is for flow assessment, Paul Casey, to come in sometime in August, and whether we wanted to invite him for the 14th or the 28th.
So Carl
then-
and Barb won't be here the 14th.
Yeah, neither of us will be here. And meanwhile, also Carl did send, we do have some discussion points for him whenever he does come, which I can
Yeah, I think
also
they're in here, right?
distribute.
It's a handout.
And these may be dated, this was when they were gonna come in originally.
Well, I would say have them come in 28th. More the merrier. And, I know I can be here the 28th. Did you say you might not be here at the end of August?
Oh,
You going away?
nope, I'll be here.
We'll have to check with Joan. It would be good if everyone was here for it. But
Okay.
if not, we'll make it the 28th for the best we can. So invite them.
Okay, 8/28, got it.
And then in everyone's spare time, read through Carl's stuff and come up with your own as well if you'd like. We have a meeting in between there too.
Right.
So we have some time to look over these. But thank you, Carl, for these. All right.
And I just had one FYI, we did receive the information from Fitchburg, we have been waiting on quite a while, about the John Fitch Highway expenses. It's not on the agenda, so we I don't think we can really discuss it, but it does hinge upon several things, so it will be on the agenda for the next meeting. But
Okay.
it's good to know. Highfield's been waiting on that also, so,
Yes, please put it on the next
and we'll distribute it.
reduction of about 100K.
Yep, looks.
That's
so
good.
at
Good for us.
very first glance, I don't think we've
It's a good
done
thing.
anything more. I've also asked for, same as I did the first time, asked for the Excel tables behind it, because you can't read this little attachment, so
Is it eye
we'll
chart?
have more information for the next meeting,
Okay.
okay?
Did they, I didn't have time to review the whole thing, did they talk about the payment schedule?
No, want me to put that again out there? I don't think they did. Shall I ask for that also?
Yeah, I'm just.
That's
I'm
important.
pretty sure.
What the payment schedule is, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
total sum, but, it's gonna be spread over some time,
Right.
some interest.
Yep.
I knew it was 20 years, but I don't
It
know.
was, I know theirs is 20, but
Okay.
it's
All
a few
right.
years old already.
True, that is true. Asked about payment schedule.
All right,
Thank
member
you.
agenda inputs for future meetings. I'll start off with that school stuff we talked about in the beginning of the meeting. Carl, you won't be here the next meeting. Do you want to keep that? I will go on the 28th for that, so you can be involved with the discussion, and bring your concerns to light.
Sure.
Any word on Summer Street?
Just talked to Jack, and there was nothing. The work on Summers is fairly shallow, and
Okay.
the sewer is quite low, so they're,
Railroad tracks I saw, that was kinda cool. So I don't know if there's some
well, old
pipes
trolley
show
probably.
up. Old trolley tracks they found or
Yeah.
something.
Really?
But no, there is nothing impacting the sewer.
That's good.
They got to put a trolley in?
The old trolley.
Bring it back.
That would be fun. Kids would love it.
Oh, they would love it. All right, let's go around. Ryan, you got any agenda inputs you want to throw on future meetings that you're concerned about?
No,
John?
I think what we have already is fine.
Carl, other than the school thing, do you have anything else?
Well, hopefully for one on that, so not the next one, but the maintenance plan, we gotta get that going. And we've been talking about this and the need to do it for a while. If we don't get around to it for some reason, I think we need to at least maybe start doing some policies. The fact that our lack of documentation is really a problem, That would come within a maintenance plan, but
Finding that town-wide, a lot of the documentation
Absolutely.
within town is lack thereof and not very good and not really organized and
Right.
out of date. Other than that, town's great, but policies are lacking just about everywhere. So yeah, we'll throw them on there. I need to keep throwing a wall on the 28th.
I know, we're busy.
Maybe first.
that
in-
could go the next
First
one.
one of September
Okay.
for the policies. And
Or
maybe-
maintenance plan.
A maintenance plan, yeah,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, I'll do a maintenance plan for that one, and we'll touch on,
Right.
put the word policy in there anyway, just so we
Right.
can touch on it if we want to.
Maintenance plan and policies.
Yeah.
Okay.
the only other one that I have, it's not urgent, but I think it's gotta get addressed, is the business manager and supervision and the job description. I think we need to wrestle this to the ground and get this clear, who has the responsibility. 'Cause right now, the job description says we do, and if we do, we're not doing anything, we should do something. If we don't, we should get it changed and then make sure whoever it is
It's doing it.
does it.
Why don't you put it on the first October meeting? And I'm sure Heather will probably want to have some say, but, well, she can come as public if she'd like.
Okay.
Public meeting. Any public comment? I'm sorry, you done?
Yep, Dan, thank you.
I think that was the end of it. Public comment from the board?
Yeah, I went to the DPW, met with Jack, and sat with him for a while, and just gave me the rundown of the system, the kind of the maintenance, and it was good just to get a,
Formative.
yeah,
Good,
it was
good,
good.
that's good.
I thank him for inviting me in.
He's the guy. I do have one comment. I did reach out to Heather, as I said I would, about the communication no, I'm sorry. She reached out to me about how we canceled the communication policy. She asked that I meet up with her to talk about it. I responded back that it was under my impression, and maybe my opinion's wrong, that the commission kind of didn't want people going rogue without talking to the commission first. I asked her if she wanted to come in. I didn't get a response. That was like 3 weeks ago. That was the day after the last meeting, so that was about 3 weeks ago. I have no problem talking to Heather, but people have expressed not to just kind of go off and talk to others without the opinion of everybody. So she still has concerns about the communication policy. I haven't talked to her other than just asking her to come here, but I figured I'd just kind of let you guys know. I'm going to respond again and see what she wants to do.
Okay, sounds good.
So 3
Well,
weeks,
did I-
you haven't heard back?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a communication problem.
I didn't even think of it that way, but yeah.
Did I hear on the audio that the selectmen are working on a communication policy?
They
and
are,
Part of
yes.
the reason for waiting is to see what they come up with?
Yeah, so we didn't even really want to wait. We were just saying we don't need one.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
ties
think I
into
made that
policies.
comment. I subsequently found out it's nowhere near what we're talking about.
Okay.
It's a,
Yeah, that was a whole different.
yeah, whole
They were talking
different
about Facebook.
kettle of
and-
fish, yeah, exactly. Right.
Ours was specific to communication with each other.
Right.
Then we decided against it, that we really didn't need it. I still am under that opinion that we don't. But I just wanted to let the commission know that she did reach out. I did say in the meeting to Joan specifically that if she reached out, I would absolutely work with her. I just didn't know if it should be a private meeting or not, so I'm just bringing it to you guys' attention that she did request that conversation, but it has not happened. But I will reach out to her again, see what she wants to do.
So are you asking us if it can be a private conversation, or, okay.
No, I don't think it should. I'm going to reach out again. See.
Okay.
I mean, if she emails me her concerns, I will bring them here.
Yeah, that's fine.
I know she's very busy, so maybe it's just a scheduling thing. These meetings aren't easy to come to all the time when you have a full-time job within town doing other things. There's a lot of meetings going on. So that's what I got.
Just a couple of things. If you're going to follow up on the Mass Ave manhole.
I didn't. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, still on your list then?
I thought about that when I walked
That's all
in.
right.
Like, oh, crap, I was supposed to talk to Jack.
That's fine, that's fine.
I'll do that tonight. I'll reach out to him.
And
Vacation.
He's on
Is he?
vacation this week.
No. If I don't do it soon, Barb will yell at me. She sent me all sorts of nasty emails because I didn't respond to any of them this week. They were actually just concerns.
so the other one is my favorite. It'll be August tomorrow. Is the, if we got the Munis quote so that we can tie down the billing. We have the Munis quote?
No, we don't,
Oh.
but it's, I had been saying August when my billing was out, I was gonna be able to focus on it. Just, that's still, I looked at it again after we had the conversation, and there was just more to it that I want to put more time, I want to have time to really study it, and, because they're gonna come back with lots of questions.
Munis
So,
is-
yeah. So my plan is still mid-August
Okay.
to have that.
That's it.
All right,
Thank you.
John? Any public comment?
Nope.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Our next meeting is 8:14 at the
Did you make
DPW.
that motion?
Nobody made
Make a motion to, make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
All in favor of, any discussion? No? All in favor? Aye. Man, that was this close. Okay,
14th.
we can go.